Hi there. Welcome to Cabaret Corner. I'm your host, Ari Axelrod, and I am elated to be welcoming to the corner today's guest, the astonishing Linda Purl. Linda has recently had running roles on Homeland, True Blood, and Designated Survivor. She has starred in over 45 made-for-TV movies and is especially known for playing Charlene Matlock in Matlock, Ashley Pfister, Fonzie's fiancée in Happy Days, and Helene Beasley, Pam's mom, on The Office. Linda has been seen on Broadway in The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, Getting and Spending, and off-Broadway in The Baby Dance. Recently, Linda was in the off-Broadway production of Mr. Toole at 59 East 59th, which was canceled with 2 hours' notice in the middle of their run on March 12th due to COVID-19. Linda tours with her solo concerts Midnight Caravan, celebrating the great ladies of the glamorous nightclub era, and Up Jumped Spring. Solo albums are Alone Together, Out of This World, Live Midnight Caravan, and Up Jumped Spring. Her album, Taking a Chance on Love, is available on all streaming platforms on May 29th. Past concert venue appearances include Lincoln Center, Feinstein's in New York City, Naples Philharmonic, Catalina Jazz Club in Los Angeles, Club Ray in Paris, and Satin Doll in Tokyo. Linda is one of the kindest, most generous, and warm people, not only in this business, but frankly, anywhere on planet Earth. And it is such an honor to have her here as my guest on today's episode of Cabaret Corner. Hi, Linda.
Hey, Ari, you are so good for my ego. My God, thank you very much.
Oh, well, it's all true. It's the truth.
Well, you are my darling, because I remember we met. We were seated together or something like. I mean, just total strangers. Anyway, at the fabulous 54, Feinstein's 54 Below, and we just struck up this conversation. It was like, oh my gosh, who is this smart, handsome, fabulous old soul?
Yeah.
And then Tad Firth, who was, of course, there, that, and he was like, hey, Ari. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, Ted knows him, likes him then, clearly.
Yeah, it was as we say in Judaism, it was bashert. And now here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I were to ask 50 different cabaret artists to define cabaret, I think I would have 50 different definitions.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those very personal, very eclectic art forms, but I'm curious, in 1 to 2 sentences, how would you define cabaret?
Well, gosh, you'll put on the spot, but it's a great question and I should have a ready answer. I love the intimacy of it. It's storytelling at its best. Yeah. And it's, I think, one of the most flexible live art, performance arts that I know. And especially now, I think, I don't know that this is really answering your question. It's not, but I am working with, isolation, quarantine brain. So certain amount of ramble, I hope.
I'm right there with you.
Permitted, but to sit in any one of our wonderful venues, the Beach Cafe or Birdland 54, the Green Room, and to see someone or two people stand up and tell their stories and sing their songs, the authenticity of it, the immediacy of it, and the intimacy of it, I think I have cherished always, and then really in the last couple of years cherish more. And now, oh boy, do I miss it. I've been watching Jim Caruso's Monday Night Wonder, and Linda Lavin and Billy Stritch's Wednesday afternoons, and Billy's Place Thursday night. I mean, and Billy Hinchy, I don't know if you know, it's not really cabaret. Billy's a rock and roller. He was Desi and Billy, and then Billy did, he's the guitarist for the Beach Boys forever. Anyway, Saturday nights from his home in Las Vegas, Billy is, he's a great raconteur. He's worked with everyone. He's played everywhere, and he tells these great stories, and then walks over to his piano and plays the piano, and walks over his guitar and plays the guitar. And anyway, you just feel like you're embraced by these people. I mean, you are embraced by these people's talent and generosity of spirit when they perform, and especially now, I find all of that to be such balm.
Yeah,
That's cabaret.
I love it. I've heard a lot of people say that, you know, there's no work for artists right now, that now is the time for nurses and people on the front lines, and that it's our job to wait until this whole thing ends. I see you shaking your head, and I agree with you, but can you speak to why you shake your head and why it's important that everyone shakes their head?
I'd be lost without it. I mean, if we didn't have music to listen to, books to read, museums to travel through virtually, concerts to attend. I mean, my gosh, the concert, what was it called? The Global World Citizen or whatever that Lady Gaga put
Yeah,
together, the Sondheim birthday celebration. I mean, have you ever get chills just talking about it? I mean, we need that. We crave it. And I mean, have you been to a Zoom with one of your cocktail, Zoom parties with some of your cocktail parties with some of your friends where you always talk about what are you seeing, what are you reading? I mean, it's what we're doing. And this is,
yeah,
I have those conversations not just with friends who are in the arts, but across the board.
yeah.
um
It also,
we
it,
need. And just to interrupt you and for to talk endlessly, I am so impressed with the community of artists and what they've done and how they've stepped up and how they've found ways to keep the art going. I mean, it's astonishing. The generosity, the camaraderie, the compassion, the comfort, it's beautiful.
and and also, the people who are in the hospitals fighting for their lives, if we as artists stop creating,
Mhm.
then we're not giving them much to fight for. What is a world without music and art and creativity? So I think it's, important now more than ever to show up as artists, to
You bet.
give them something to fight for.
You bet.
So you
Artists create under all circumstances, right? All
absolutely right.
we metabolize, the good and the bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you talked about Ted Firth, the brilliant Ted Firth.
Oh, way I miss him so much. I miss, of
Oh,
course, all the concerts for all of us. Cancer for the rest of the year, and I talked to Dad the other day. And he said, "Well, my career is on life support, but he's continuing to work because he works with 100 people, and so of course he's carrying on beautifully. But gosh, do I miss that music? We actually have a new CD coming out, so I've been listening, uh, you know, to him play from those tracks, and oh, wah, I just miss the whole
almost
thing.
not fair that he can do what he can do.
That's right.
Oh,
That's right. And he fits into everyone's pocket. I mean, first of all, he's got no ego,
none.
I mean,
No.
just it's all about the song. It's all about supporting the singer. And yeah, I mean, I tease him and I say, you play the subtext of the lyric. He's so attuned to the lyric and so sophisticated and nuanced in his taste. And I learn so much from him every time I play with him. Okay, do you have time for a story?
Yes, I was going to ask you for a Ted story. Please.
I hope you'll forgive me for telling this. Anyway, we were doing a concert somewhere, and we were doing it for a couple of nights, and we had pickup musicians, and we had a young drummer and a young conga player. They were good. They were energetic. They were about my son's age. So I've been around that energy, and I know what that energy has to offer. So this was our closing night, and they had been, of course, very what's the word? Well, they loved playing with Ted, and they knew that. Of course, they were working with world class. So there had been a certain amount of tension, which had now gone away, and they were feeling a bit more comfortable in the music. Last night, the penultimate number was a big sort of raucous Latin thing with a huge drum and then conga solo. It was fine. They did fine. And now we're launching into the last number, and I don't know what got into me. I swear I wasn't drinking, but I just thought I knew these boys had more to offer. So I stopped in the middle of the last song, the encore song. And I asked the audience, I said, would you mind if we went back and did that last number again? Because I know the boys have more to leave on the table. And I turned around to them and I said, take your shirts off. Give me everything you've got. I can take it. What was wrong with me? And I turned around to Ted, who's like, oh my God, she's officially lost it. And he, in his polite, quiet manner, he said, what would you like, Linda? Faster? And I said, no, more. And it was like I said, more. And he went, oh, you mean something like this? He took off his jacket, he folded it. He took the music off the stand. He laid down the music stand on the piano. And now he's standing up and he slid that thing up. So now all the guts of the piano are exposed. And I'm looking at him and the boys are looking at him like, oh my goodness, what have we unleashed? And Ted Firth dove his hands into the strings of the and started plucking the strings. He didn't know where he was going. It didn't matter. He went off the cliff and it was so beautiful. It was so brave and so daring, and he, with his wedding ring, and he's making the beautiful note, bang, 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 and stuff like that. Anyway, and then he nodded the boys in. So it was on. Now he'd taken us out to the music of the spheres. Now the boys came in. They played that crap out of the drums and the conga and their solo. Anyway, it was such a gift, and it was a moment I'll never forget. And I talked to him about it later, and I said, that's where you live. I think he actually lives somewhere out there in the music of the spheres, and he hears music in a way that most mortals don't.
Yes.
And he picks up harmonics that most mortals don't, and he delivers those gems to us. And he certainly did that night on steroids.
Man, he didn't take his shirt off, did he?
He didn't. No, and the boys didn't either. Thank heavens.
I was on YouTube today, and I stumbled on a video of you and Ted, an arrangement that he did with you singing Billy Joel's Lullaby, Good Night, My Angel.
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorite songs. And I didn't know I could be any more moved by that song than I already have been in my life. But that arrangement and you doing it it gutted me.
Oh, goody.
And I obviously from that video, but also following you on social media, it's so clear to me that you are a phenomenal mother.
Oh, thanks.
Well, you're welcome. I'm curious, and last week was Mother's Day, so I'm curious how being a mother has enriched the work that you do as an artist.
Oh, goodness. Enriched everything. Just on that song, it's on the CD, and it was 9 or 10 takes before I could get through it without just blubbering.
Yes, I could tell you were a little verklempt at the beginning. I was like, oh this is real. Oh man.
First of all, I got so lucky with my son, Lucius. He's 25. But it's so humbling because you're going to get it wrong, and you're at the mercy of the gods to just hope that you answer some of the right questions, that you equip your children with some life tools so that they can get through times, unimaginable times like now. But he Oh goodness. My son has taught me everything about life. When he got his diploma, high school diploma, uh, standing up there looking from the field at all these wonderful kids getting their diploma. And I thought, my fellow mommies and I also, we got a kind of diploma, from the University of Mommy.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
when you are exhausted and you do it anyway, when you're frustrated and excuse me, my dog's making an appearance here. Um, oh, it's everything. It's the meaning of life. I can't imagine having gone through this life without the privilege of being a mother. It and it's not for everyone. I mean, I don't at all mean to intimate that you can't have a beautiful, fulfilling, meaningful life without being but for me, it was the place where I got, besides Ted Firth, all my life lessons. And it's ongoing. Oh goodness, it's ongoing, and boy is it humbling, because at this stage they're smart enough, grown up enough, out in the world enough to look back and go, and really call you on your stuff. So it
Yeah.
keeps you honest. Yeah.
So you played uh, one of, in my opinion, one of the most famous maternal characters on television. You played Pam Beasley's mother in The Office.
Mm-hmm.
What
Mm-hmm.
what was that like to be
So much fun.
on that show? Yeah.
Oh, so much fun. And I came into the show after they'd been doing it for a few years, however many. And, at that point, they could have been taking it for granted, like ho hum. I mean, they'd already had such a huge success. Wasn't that way at all. They came to work like it was first day of school. Steve Carell, prince of human being,
Hmm.
prepared, ready, engaged, um, all about the work and the writing and the camaraderie and the respect that was on that set. It was really, really beautiful.
That's it's so nice to hear. Like you always hope that that's the
You bet.
case.
You
And
bet.
to hear that it is, it's just
It was actually very reminiscent to me of the atmosphere that Gary Marshall and Jerry Paris had created on Happy Days. Happy Days was a happy set. The comedy on Happy Days was pretty light and frothy, and so you just could not walk onto that stage with a sour point of view. You just couldn't. It would just fall flat, and they insisted on that. They kept it fun. They kept it light. There was an innocence in the air and the atmosphere, and I think that imbued the work on the show.
yeah. Um, you worked with uh, the legendary David Craig,
I did.
and for a lot of people in my generation, a lot of my cabaret clients, before they took a class with me, they had no idea who he was. Can you talk a bit about what it was like to work with somebody like David Craig? What was that experience like?
Mm. Okay, so I learned everything from Ted Firth, my son, and David
David
Craig.
Craig.
David was a standard. David was the sterling standard in everything. He had an encyclopedic mind. He remembered things. He knew songs. He knew lyrics. He knew stories. He knew backstories. And so he brought all of that. He was deeply intuitive. He could read a person like that, know your strengths and weaknesses. He did not suffer fools, which was terrifying, but also thrilling, because you felt, if you were in the room, he made you feel like his effort, like you were worth it.
Yeah,
Even in his criticisms. I mean, you knew that you had the sense that he was giving you the critique because he was seeing something and he was wanted to draw it out. I hear his voice in my head all the time, all the time. Move before the word. And I mean, his notes are there. And also when I speak to friends who have been in his class and we reference David Kirby. Oh yeah, David. Yeah, there's that
Right.
wonderful, wonderful knowing. But and the fact that he worked when he did, I mean, it was a beautiful coming together in that particular era, those decades in which he taught, and Broadway was so strong and magnificent, and
Yeah.
he, so much behind the scenes, really, but with all the so many people that studied with him, I think he really elevated the level of performances on Broadway. I don't think that's too broad a statement
Mm-mm.
because he worked with so many people. And have you ever spoken to anyone who didn't respect his work or
No.
admire his breadth of knowledge? I mean,
I think the first thing I hear when I mention his name to someone who worked with him is, oh, and then they speak, but there's always that inhale of, oh my God, that acknowledging that they were in the presence of a God among mortals. He was,
that's right.
yeah.
That's right. He was not, well, actually, I was going to say he wasn't sentimental, but I think in the end he was incredibly sentimental. But
Mm,
that he was able to just talk about putting tools in people's tool belts, that he was able to distill the presentation of a song to these rules. And however many years he's been gone now, it's such a testament, to his work and craft as a teacher, because he's still with us,
yeah.
really with us. It wasn't sort of just, he wasn't just a charismatic person. Of course he was, but so his teaching was so solid and enduring.
Yeah. How did you get involved in cabaret? What's the story behind that?
It was Tommy Rolla who had the Gardenia Club in Hollywood, and a friend of mine, Jimmy Dunn, wonderful songwriter, and he said, "Come on." He worked on. He was one of the producers on Happy Days, and so he on our USO tours we would sing every once in a while. Anyway, he said, "I'm doing a night at the Gardenia. What's that? Come down and do a couple of the songs we did on the USO tours." Okay. So I did. Darling Club, fun atmosphere. Tommy was great. Of course, he was an old gypsy, and and a fabulous chef. And so I did my couple of numbers and it was fun. And afterwards, Tommy came up to me and said, "So when are you going to do a cabaret act?" It was shocking. I felt like someone had, he challenged me. It was terrible, what a terrifying thought. He then introduced me to David Galligan and Ron Abel, and Ron became my music director for 20 odd years. They held my hand and we put together an act, and by God, we did it. And at that point, part of the reason why I was so thrilled to do this was I I had been living in LA for several years at that point, and music was no longer part of my life. I used to do musicals when I was younger. I had recorded some in Japan and whatnot. Anyway, I just, except for singing in the shower, I wasn't singing at all. So this was extraordinary. I mean, the thought that you could pull a couple of really talented people who knew what they were doing together and build an act, and then call a club and say, what dates that you had autonomy
Yeah.
as an artist. What a concept, especially in LA.
Yeah.
So it was Tommy really who pushed me into the pool, and I'm so grateful to him. And those friendships with David Galligan and Ron Abel, they informed everything. And I was never doing it with the idea I was doing it for fun. But it's become, over the last now 20 years, it's become so much more important to me. And then Deborah Grace Weiner kindly pulled me into, or excuse me, Rex Reed pulled me into about 11, 12 years ago, uh, one of the wonderful Lyrics and Lyricists series that Deborah Grace Weiner was doing. And Ted was our musical director for that. So that's when we met. And Ron Abel, who I love, he's family to me, would be the first to say, that Ted, it's a different sensibility. Ted is more jazz orientated, which was an area that I wanted to lean into more.
Sure.
So, and also Ron is so busy working with so many wonderful people. So the focus of things moved more to be with Ted, and we've been together now for 11 years musically.
Yeah. When
Yeah,
you
funny.
when you build a new show, I tell
Mhm.
my students all the time that your shows, more than anybody else's, are a masterclass in patter. That what you say and how you say it in between songs is an art in and of itself. So
Oh, good.
I have always wondered, what is it like for you to, what's the process like for building a new show?
Yeah. So Deborah Grace Weiner. It's all about Deborah Grace Weiner, who's so brilliant. So Deb and I, when we met, it was like, oh, you're going to be one of my best friends, for me anyway. And so she has remained. And again, one of those people with an encyclopedic mind and such a good writer and so smart and so tasteful. So Deb and I I'll have an idea for a theme. I'll take this last one. So this last one was, well, you know, 3 years ago, whenever, when our politics changed, I just thought, not there's much of reality out in the world that I'm really not happy with. It doesn't sit well with me. And so you think, all right, well, do we really have the power, or to what extent do we have the power to change our reality and to dream our dreams and have them come true? So that was sort of the rough theme. And I mentioned this to Deb, and she managed to not go, ugh. She just sort of put up with it. It was such a airy fairy, such a hippy dippy idea. But I wanted to, and I had an idea for, a couple of the songs. I knew a couple of the tunes that I wanted to do. So then we talk. We have a long conversation, sort of like a therapy session. Thanks, Deb. And I just go, blah, blah, blah. I talk about all the ideas, hither and yon, no editing. And then Deb miraculously makes sense of the jumble. And I tell her that few of the songs, I maybe have 5 or 6 songs, but they're, 15, 16 songs that you need to pull together. So anyway, she distills that and then comes back to me with the beginning of some patter. And then we go back and forth. But I provide the splat. Deb provides the form. And now that we've worked together so much, I think our that process of back and forth is faster. I wouldn't consider doing something without Deb. Uh, First of all, you need that, or in my case, I crave that objective eye, and I'm so fortunate to have someone who knows my thoughts better than I do. She just, as you can tell, I blather on endlessly. So Deb says, "That's very nice, dear. We're just going to do the
I do
Zen
the same.
treatment." You know.
Oh, you do such a good job of assembling the people who can bring out the best of you. I think that is so beautiful with Ted and Ron and David and Deb. I mean, that's a skill in and of itself.
Well, that's one of the many myriad beauties of New York, the concentration of talent. And with this CD, we worked with David Fink and Ray Marchica, who I've come to know in the last decade, again through Deb and through Ted. So, but I then get to take advantage of the fact that they've been working together for years and years. So that the ambrosia, the alchemy of their musicianship together, there's an understanding between them that's seamless.
Yeah.
So I get to, well, take advantage of that and ride on, sit in that stew with them. Yeah.
If you could give a piece of advice to the next generation of cabaret artists, what would you say?
Be authentic. I think, kids are They have so much to process in this world that's changing. I mean, who knows what the shape of new normal is going to be? And so we are dependent on the arts to help us process the changes. Um, so I think we're going to need those voices. I mean, goodness, when we saw Jennifer Lopez sing People, I mean, that's cabaret to me, right? I mean,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
so I think we're going to need more and more of that. And it's going to help us as the audience if we see someone, with a funny song, with a heartbreak song, whatever it is, but they're expressing their truths. It will help all of us.
Yeah. All right. So you're already in the hot seat, but I'm going to put you in the even hotter seat.
Uh-oh.
If you, and I'm asking everyone to do this, but you don't have to, but I'm still going to ask. If could you sing your favorite 8 bars from one of your shows? Your favorite 8 bars?
Oh goodness. Uh, let's see. I don't know favorite 8 bars, but come with me and we'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in a world of my creation. What you see will defy explanation. Okay.
Oh my God. I'm just gonna check that
Sorry.
off my bucket list.
Sorry,
Oh,
you're too much. How
Lynn,
are you?
I'm great.
Bless your heart. Good for you.
Oddly enough,
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm home in Michigan and I'm taking it day by day. And I'm
Good.
meeting myself where I'm at and being okay with that.
What a lovely statement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you so much for doing this and
Oh,
for,
darling, thank you for asking. I appreciate
of
it.
course, of
Yeah. Invite
course.
me to Michigan. You have a beautiful home. I'll
Thank
be
uh,
there
look at
soon.
all these books. Look at that.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah. Wonderful.
all right. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Ari, so much. Take good care.
You too.